We don't practice until we get it right. We practice until we don't get it wrong. Welcome back, everyone, to Life at 10 Tenths, where we inspire you to live at the pinnacle of your ability and purpose. As always, he is Garrett Fry, and I am Matt Pinelli, and we are excited to be here with you.
Oh my
Did I get all the emphasis on the right syllables there, Gary?
We were just talking about being cheesy, Matt. You pulled it off rock solid.
Perfect. Perfect. I'm so excited that we did that. Well, we are really happy for you guys to be here with us. We got a nice kind of good topic here because, Garrett, this is something that not a lot of people do pay attention to, particularly when they're getting ready for big moments in their business. But we can take a cue from professional athletes and people like that who do this all the time.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, we're going to talk today about the mental game and preparing yourself to be at the highest level you can. And I'm excited we get to go down this route because I watch so many people that get into like the system or the process. And it's like, I always laugh that the piece that's left out of the process, some of the best processes out there, is you. Like, how do you take care of you before you start that process? And, we can have all these elements that we put into it, but it's like, if you're not bringing the best of you and the best of your energy and the best of your emotional capacity, like the system doesn't matter. The process doesn't matter over here. I mean, you can skate by, but like, how do you take care of you to be your best? And I just feel it's left off the table so often, Matt.
It is. And specifically the mental side of that, right? I mean, because there's a lot of paths that go down on taking good care of yourself, from how you eat and exercise and all that stuff. But in terms of like showing up in the moment, a lot of times we just kind of like roll into it. I mean, we sometimes do pep talks. I see people do that, but there's a whole different level of really making sure that you're at your best. And there are some even environmental things that you can do, like, hey, eliminate distractions leading up to something. Make sure that you have all of your gear ready, whatever that is, your stuff's in order, the pages of your booklet are correct. Getting all those things in place. But then it comes into like, what about if you actually did this mental rehearsal? If you went through what you want this to look like and you kind of visualized an entire appointment, you visualized an entire conversation, you visualized an entire year, right? And you just really put that intention out there of, okay, let me actually go walk through this so that I can have been there before, right?
If you really want to get a taste of this, Matt, go watch somebody preparing for downhill skiing, like slalom, grand slalom, high speed downhill skiing. You will watch them sit there and they have their hands put in front of them like skis. And they are literally, you'll watch them close their eyes and they're turning and they're going through the turns, and you can watch them go over jumps and down the hill. Like, they have this entire course in their head where they're sitting there watching every point they want to be out of there on the track, and they're visualizing themselves in victory mode at the end, celebrating and coming through the end of that. Like, all those pieces are what they're doing before they even set their feet on the track, before they ever have their skis on their body and they're heading down the hill. This mental visualization of what this looks like is massive. And I find that most people, Matt, they actually do some sort of mental visualization. They just focus on everything they're worried about that could possibly happen.
They're focused on the downsides, right?
Yeah, it's like, what if I crash? It's like, got it. Let's not focus on that. We have somebody that just reached out to us, and they were talking about, like, I'm going into a listing presentation and I'm really nervous. And we started talking about, are you thinking about you right now? Or are you thinking about your people and the experience that you're going to give to them and the energy that you're going to give to them? That was a mental rehearsal that was literally happening, just not focusing on maybe the outcomes or the vision that you really want to be focusing on.
Yeah. Well, I love that you brought up downhill skiing, because I used to do exactly that. I don't know if you know, I used to be a downhill ski racer when I was a kid.
I knew you talked about downhill ski racing, but I didn't know at what level. So that's awesome.
And they taught us like doing this visualization, because you'd go inspect the course and you'd try to remember as much as you can. And they'd talk about when you're up there at the top and you're getting ready, close your eyes and think about this. I used to do it with running too, with my races, which is just like a circle around the track, visualizing where do I want to be? What do I want to hear as the splits are called out? And it's actually something, Garrett, I lost when I got into the corporate world, right? I just didn't really think about it that much until I started researching more leadership and things like that, and all of these correlations. And it really does apply. Like if you're getting ready to go on a listing appointment or sit down for a buyer consultation, if you take a moment and just think through, like, close your eyes, what is the experience that I want this client to have, and visualize myself delivering that experience that leads to a signed contract, that leads to us going out on showings, that leads to a listing contract, whatever it might be. Then when you're there in the physical moment, Garrett, it's like you've been there before.
Yeah.
Right? Even if you've done it a million times in person before, it's that one moment that, like, hey, I feel like I've been here. And it gives you this different level of confidence to actually follow through with certain things.
So I saw this happen. I did a track day. The track days that we do, you get to bring your own car down and you get to go drive. We drove on Laguna Seca here. This is about a year ago, maybe a little bit over a year ago. And I'll never forget, I had a professional driver in the car with me. So he's sitting in the passenger seat of my car. And so we go out and he's telling me all, like, here's where you want to turn on this corner. Here's where you want to turn on this corner. In my mind, this is a young kid. He's probably 19 years old. I think is how old he said he was. Who's teaching me all the ins and outs of Laguna Seca. And the next thing he says is, he goes, hey, during our break, do you want to come with me in my car? And I'll show you what it's like. And we get in this little, it was like a Toyota Corolla, like an 80s Toyota Corolla, that I'm like, really? Like, this is what we're going on the track in? Like, all right, I'm in. And this kid crushed it on the track. Like, we were passing cars that were way faster than us, just keeping incredible momentum on this track because he's hitting everything just right. We get done with the end of the day, and I was like, dude, that's awesome. I said, how many times have you driven this track? Because in my mind, I was going, this is a guy who has mastered this track. He's raced out here numerous times. He knows every single point, every single little dimension of what the course is. He goes, honestly, this is the first day I've ever been on this track. I said, what are you talking about? I'm like, your first time ever being on this track. He said, he goes, with simulators nowadays, he goes, knowing that I was coming here and I was going to be instructing on this track, he goes, I've spent the last couple weeks just driving this track in a race simulator. He goes, I have one at the house. And he goes, and I've been here and I've been going through all the corners and analyzing every corner. And he goes, he can take the same corner over and over and over again and master these certain places on the track. He's like, it's crazy how accurate they are. He goes, so yes, it was my first time on the track, but really it wasn't. And I think that, we always have the ability of doing this. Going into a listing presentation, is the track a little bit different here and there? Are you going to be up against some different stuff and different parameters? But for the most part, it might be raining that day. It might be a sunny day. There might be fog on the track. There might be something that's no different than coming into somebody who's maybe dealing with a different element than this person or that person and how they're preparing for this sale that they're going to go through. But for the most part, the turns, especially if you have a process to follow, exactly what this is going to look like. And that's where the visualization comes in, Matt. That's where you can visualize yourself on the final outcome going, yep, that was one lap down. I know exactly what this is going to look like before I even get here.
Well, what's great about this too, how cool is that, by the way, that he just like hops on this track and is just
so annoying
because of his practice.
So annoying.
Well, maybe you should get a race simulator in your house.
I thought about that.
Christmas is coming up.
That's a big Christmas ask, but keep going.
That is a big one. That is a big one. But what's great about it is it's not just like, hey, I'm just going to go rehearse this once either, right? It's multiple times. I think it was Nick Saban who said like, hey, we're not going to practice until we get it right. We're going to practice until we don't get it wrong. And you can do that mentally. So I think physical practice is great too. If you can get a partner and stuff and practice your skill set.
One more time, Matt.
What's that?
Say that quote one more time because it's really important.
Yeah, we don't practice until we get it right. We practice until we don't get it wrong. When we do mental rehearsals, a lot of times people will be like, all right, I'm going to do this one rehearsal once and cool, I'm good, right? Do it often. And you can do this when you're going into a big appointment or practicing just regular skill sets as well. You can just rehearse conversations mentally in your head. and you can even just eat. And what's great about doing it from a mental perspective, Garrett, is it doesn't take a ton of time. But there are really interesting studies that show, like with strength as an example, they just wanted to see if people mentally thought they were lifting weights, what would be the difference between people who were actually lifting weights versus a control group. And I think this was in a Joe Dispenza book, and they found that the people who just spent 15 minutes a day visually doing bicep curls without any weight, just like thinking that they were doing it, increased their strength versus the control group. They didn't increase their strength as much as the people who were actually lifting weights.
I would hope not. That would break the entire system, by the way.
It totally would. But their strength increased. Like that's what's really interesting, is it actually, because there was neurotransmitters that went down to the muscles, and by doing the mental rehearsal, they were contracting the muscles and actually developing, what you would do similarly if you were actually lifting weights versus people who weren't doing anything at all. Really interesting with that. So it's like, how can you apply this into your business so that you can develop those type of brain muscles and that confidence so that you can show up to a lot of these things a lot more prepared than the next person who's not doing that.
I can't wait. I'm going to do the 75 hard, and I'm going to be like, oh, Matt, I just had the hardest workout. Like I just did 45 minutes of my inside routine. And I did so many squats. Like you couldn't imagine how many squats I did.
It would be very fascinating to see, like, going through like a mental 75. I don't know if I could do 45 minutes of just like visualizing myself working out. That would be really hard to do.
I don't know. I don't even know where to start. I'm like, okay, but we can get totally sidetracked here.
But I stand here and squat, but I'm not really going to squat. I'm just going to pretend that I am.
I'm thinking about squatting.
And I'm like,
so when we look at like this mental preparation, and you kind of lightly touched on like having like kind of a mantra and like a routine that kind of gets you in the moment. I think all of this stuff kind of comes into play. When you are preparing before going to the event or, whatever the experience you're about to go through, you have this place of, picturing the victory, picturing the outcome that you want to have, picturing the successful journey that you're going to have, and also getting your mental state into a place that when you show up to that, you are bringing the best energy. Your best self. You're coming into it with this sense of, I know exactly what this is. I know what I'm getting into. I know I can help you get to where you want to go. Instead of this energy that I watch that a lot of people kind of bring along with them when they're worried, is this unsure energy. And I hope I get this, and I hope they want to work with me, and I hope that I get this thing because I really need this closing, and I need this next sale to come together. Or maybe it's a first listing and it's like, I just want to get my first listing and I'm just never sure if I'm going to get my first listing. You bring this energy with you. And I mean, the best way to say it, Matt, is it's unattractive. Anybody who's around that, you can see somebody who's going to lead to victory or somebody that you're like, I think they're off their game right now. I don't feel like they're in the right position to set a record to, whether it's skiing, running, a racetrack, like you can tell when you're off and you're not mentally prepared to be there. And I think all these elements are just so incredibly important, but we don't look at them.
Yeah.
We don't touch them at all. And we wonder why we don't sometimes get the results that we're looking for.
Well, I don't think it's commonly discussed in this venue because there's so many other things that people can work on to get up to baseline or even get even higher above baseline. And there's a lot of people who achieve success on accident, like we talked about in our last episode. And so it just doesn't get discussed. When you're playing at an elite athlete level, everybody's looking for a little edge. Everyone's in the peak. This is the top 1% of 1% of specimen of people and skill set for that, whatever it is. Downhill ski racing as an example. And so what gives you the edge is the mental focus. Mm-hmm. And what I want to kind of highlight for people is what we're saying is that you can still, that is still a great edge, even when the competition, and even if you're not quite there yet as well, because this isn't like a way to be arrogant or overconfident or anything like that. This is bringing the best energy, as you so greatly described it, Garrett, so that you are there and you are present. And if it doesn't work, then you're also going to be open to learning all the things that you can then work on to make the next one even better. And likely you'll probably still get some good feedback. Like it'll be a pleasant experience for everybody from an energy and relationship perspective. And so why not give yourself that little edge, because it costs no money and it takes really little time. It just takes some intention.
Well, and that's the craziest thing. And we watch this all the time is it's those little things that you're really only showing up for yourself. You know, nobody else knows you're doing it. Nobody else knows that you're sitting in your car or you're sitting in your office doing this mental preparation. Nobody knows you're sitting there having a little chest pounding moment of like, you know, building up the best energy that I have inside of me. This is all on you to do, to show up for yourself. And you can very easily say, oh, that's silly. I don't know. I don't want to do that. Or I don't know. It feels kind of awkward. This is just you with you in your own skin, you in your own moment, you in your own time. Like nobody's judging you. Nobody knows that you're doing it. And it's just this powerful, powerful moment of visualizing the outcome that you want, visualizing what this is going to look like. And again, I mean, whether it's a mantra, whether it's music, there's a lot of studies of, you know, picture another time you were successful and make a fist and attach that to the fist being clenched. And you get to bring that energy with you. Every time you're walking into a listing presentation, you clench your fist and it brings back that energy of when you had success in the past. Like all of these things is you being mentally prepared, mentally rehearsed, mentally ready before you ever have to sit in front of somebody and do your presentation, go through a process. And it's just so overlooked, Matt. And I know this is kind of a shorter episode for everybody, but I feel like that kind of sums it up. And we just want you thinking about that. How are you taking care of yourself in that little moment, either, you know, hours or maybe even a day before you go to accomplish something awesome?
In the car before, in the conference room before. Yeah, absolutely. So, man, I hope people do deploy this, Garrett, into not only those little moments, but also think about how you can deploy this for the big moments. If your business plan is done, start, you know, doing that mental rehearsal on the different phases. And you don't have to do it all in order either. You can mentally rehearse all the different phases because your brain's going to be able to figure out and put those things into the proper sequence for you. And so just try it. And there's nothing you can lose by trying this.
And there's two places. Most people I find are either focusing on an outcome they're worried about, or they are just complacent and they're just like, okay, I've done listing appointments 1,000 times, go on a listing appointment today, and they're just going.
Yeah.
And they're just not putting themselves in the best place they can. And that's what I want you thinking about. If you fall into one of those two categories, when you're just kind of going, I'm just going through the motions. I've done this 1,000 times. I know what I'm doing. I'm just going to go do it. Or if you have that little voice in your head that's saying, I'm worried about this or I'm concerned about it, like get control of those things and be more on purpose. So with that being said, if you like this episode, if you want to hear more of these episodes, we're on YouTube, we're on Spotify, we're on Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening right now. But like and subscribe. Matt and I, really, this time that we're here with you, this is our donated time to you. We love doing this. We do this because it's a passion of ours. It comes from our heart. And we want to be able to share the podcast with you as much as we can and have as many people listen as possible. But this is not our main job, even though we love doing it. So the best thing you can do to help us grow and to help us get this out and support us is share this with people and subscribe so that you'll be notified of other episodes coming up. And if you want to learn more about Life at 10 Tenths, go to lifeat10tenths.com. We have a coaching program called the 11 Circle we'd love for you to be a part of. And if you're listening to this right now and you have this little voice in the back of your head saying, I wish I did a business plan. I wish I was there for that, or I wish I could have been a part of somebody's business planning. You can come to ours. If you sign up for the 11 Circle, you get a 7-day free trial. And with that 7-day free trial, you can actually come in there and gather all the business planning you want. You can listen to all the episodes, get all of our forms, go run with it. And if you like what you find there, you can stay with us because we have an amazing group of people. We do weekly coaching sessions and we have special guests that come in and speak to our group. And we'd love to have you be part of it. So with that being said, thank you, everybody. Matt, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We'll catch you soon.